And we are back. We've been gone for a couple of weeks. My name is Dillon, and this is Dillon Talks Tone. This is a YouTube channel that talks all about guitar stuff. Guitar tone, guitar gear, fixing stuff, working on stuff, all kinds of stuff about guitars. If you're new to this channel, we do this every Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And this is live. This is very, very live. So that's what we do. This evening, your show is brought to you in part by MindToyBox.com. If you are stressed out or you can't sleep, Mind Toy Box offers holistic frequency-based options without using harsh chemicals. So if you're tired of being tired, MindToyBox.com is what you've been looking for. You should go check it out. And I am glad that we are back. So,
are you really?
I had a really good day today. And of course, if you're new here, this is Leslie, and she will tell everybody what you do.
So
over there,
I am monitoring the YouTube channel where we are live, and there is a live chat going on. So when we are live doing this show on Monday evenings, I am helping to moderate the chat and relay questions to Dillon and etc. and just have some conversations. So feel free to join in, meet some people, ask some questions. Any other time you see him on YouTube, he is responding.
Yes. And so that's what kind of makes this show fun, is the fact that Leslie is there to make sure that people can interact and actually, hang out and do stuff. So here is one little piece of housekeeping. We are having internet issues. And so if at any point we figure out that this is dropping out or like it cuts off, do me a favor and just stand by for a second, because I think I have a way that we will switch this over and go to like LTE signal on my iPad and still pull it off. Okay, so if it happens, because it's been giving us trouble, I just want everybody cross your fingers. I'm going to call him tomorrow because it's been annoying all weekend. And we thought they fixed it, and you know how it is. You know how cable internet is, and calling the cable company and dealing with internet problems. So that's the deal. So what we're gonna do tonight, we're gonna do something. We've been gone for 2 weeks, and the YouTube channel's been going nuts without us. Normally, I work when we're on the road. You've seen us shoot videos in hotel rooms and all kinds of stuff like that. But this is our 2-week family vacation, and so we didn't really work. We just played, man. We intended to work, but where we went there was such terrible internet. It was so out in the middle of nowhere, right. Which was like, in one hand, it was amazing because we were in the middle of nowhere. It was awesome, but we wanted to do a live show last Monday from somewhere like out west, but it just didn't happen because of lack of internets. So we're going to go through some questions that came through the internets while we were gone. Some really good stuff, really a few. I only actually got like 4 or something.
Can we start out on a super positive comment we just got though?
Absolutely.
Hi Dillon, on set 3 of strings on the red telly, still loving it.
Oh man, that's so cool. So that must be the gentleman that bought the red sparkle telly. I think that Steve. I want to say I think that thing went to Minnesota, somewhere up there like that. That's where that one went. And then the other thing is, in a little while, we're going to talk about this right here. The Peghead is familiar because that's the Dillon Custom Guitars Peghead. But what's in the rest of the picture, you have not seen. Well, you might have seen it if you follow Instagram and Facebook. But we're going to go over some specifics about this build, what makes it a little different. And anyway, it's a Dillon Custom Guitars Batfish, but it's super, super cool. I really dig it. So We'll talk about that in a few minutes. What else is going on over there before? I don't want to ignore anybody that's actually listening right now.
He said Wisconsin, by the way.
Oh, Wisconsin.
No,
okay.
Just some hellos, and that's really all that's going on so far.
Awesome. Okay, very cool. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get right into it, because if we have internet stuff and then we have to keep messing with it, then let's just keep going. So I have a couple of questions over here. Let's see. Pat Brown. And I told these people in the comments on YouTube that I would shout them out and let them know that we were answering their particular question. Because I wanted them to know that we took the time to do these, because they're very interesting. What is the minimum rating that you need for those 1x12 speakers with the Kemper? 600 watt Kemper. Your video is excellent. Pat, thank you very much. There is no real minimum for the wattage on a speaker if you're going to use it with a powered Kemper. The problem is that you have to be more careful, because you can blow speakers up. I've done it. I have a 150 watt speaker in there now, and I have not blown it up, and I cannot be in the room. It is so loud. I blew up a 65 watt speaker. So that is my personal experience. I know that solid state and tube power is a little bit different. And so all I'm telling you right now is the personal experience that I have. The Eminence Tonker 150 that I have on the 112 cabinet right over here has treated me well. In fact, it's my second cabinet. I've actually built one, and then we sold it, and then I built another one, and this is the one that I've been using. And I know that the person that bought the other cabinet has had success with it, and I've had success with this one. So the Eminence Tonker 150 has worked very, very well for us, and I really, really like it. Let's see. Oh, this is a really good question, actually. Iggy Tommy, thanks for listening again. He listens on a regular basis. I appreciate that. The traditional Telecaster bridge pickup. So the bridge. Have you ever experimented using it in different positions? What effect should one expect if, say, it is instead in the middle or neck position? That is going to give you... take what it sounds like at the bridge, and then think of it as like a Strat, because we did a one of these lives where I had those little diagrams, right, of how a string moves and where you put the pickup in relation to the saddles is obviously going to change, and you're going to get more lows and less highs the closer you come to the peg head. Okay, same exact thing will happen with a Telecaster bridge pickup, because the physics are the same, but you're starting out with that twangy sound, so you're probably still going to kind of sound twangy, because remember that most of that sound comes from that base plate that's on the bottom of that pickup. Hang on, I actually have one right here. So let's get a little bit technical, and the screen's going to go black for a second because I screwed this up. Okay, so here we have a Telecaster bridge pickup. I just happen to have one handy. The reason a Telecaster bridge pickup sounds the way it does, everybody wants to come up with all kinds of various voodoo about why, but the real reason is because this metal plate on the bottom changes the shape of the magnetic field. Okay, it doesn't change vibrations, it doesn't change any of that stuff. It changes the shape of the magnetic field. So that is unique to a Telecaster bridge pickup, or in another example would be because they were derived from like a pedal steel. But anyways, that is very unique to that pickup. So you will have those same characteristics as you move it towards the neck. However, the physics of moving it towards the neck is always going to stay the same, right? You're going to lose highs and you're going to get mids and lows as you go closer to the neck. Okay, so that's the long and the short of it anyway. I just happen to have one of those available because it wasn't screwed in. It's not screwed into this guitar right here. What else we got going over there while I stuff this back in this hole?
Nope. That's the one question that came in, so you can probably proceed with the ones you had.
Awesome. So let's ask this second one. I thought this was a very interesting and I love it when people like think through a problem and are like, oh, what if this and what if this, you know. So this is very interesting. Glenn, what's his name? I wanted to say Windburn, but I don't think that there's a D in there. I think it's Windburn. So Glenn Windburn with no D,
Still D.
says, let's say my Telecaster has 500K pots. It goes into a volume pedal that has a 250K pot in it. Does the volume pedal pot cancel out the guitar pots because it's lower? And do other effects pedals, do the pots in those have an effect on the tone? This is a really good question because a lot of people don't think beyond the volume pot. So this is a great question. So here's what I always tell everybody. In a passive guitar, the whole guitar circuit, the volume, the tone, all the wires, the everything, and the cable, up until the first thing with a buffer in it, is all one circuit, and it all affects each other. So the length of the cable from your guitar to the first pedal, the wire in your guitar, the capacitors, all the pots. In a passive guitar, you got to really kind of treat that as all one circuit until the first active thing, the first thing basically with a battery in it, with an amp in it. So if you have, let's say, an Ernie Ball volume pedal, and those have a buffer in them, then from there on, it's like a different circuit. Your guitar circuit is in front of that circuit. Now, if it's just another passive knob, then yes, that is part of this passive circuit, and it can affect the overall capacitance of the circuit, which will affect the overall resonant peak, which will affect the tone. So everything, so if I'm holding the guitar, everything this side closest to me of the very first thing with an active circuit in it will have some effect on the tone of the guitar. After that, those guys, so let's take one of these pedals down here, like we've got the Keeley D&M driver, we've got the Keeley compressor down here. Those got amplifiers in them, right? And they got batteries in them, and they've got pots in them. And they've designed those pedals to work with what's in there as its own circuit, kind of pushing backwards, I guess, taking the signal from the guitar and then doing something with it. But after that first step, then it becomes a whole different deal. Now, I just thought that was a really interesting question because a lot of people don't think that big. This is why a good guitar cable matters. This is why the first cable that leaves your guitar to the first pedal matters, because it is actually part of the entire circuit. It can change the whole tone of your guitar because it can actually, believe it or not, and I say this in the super nerdy sense because a lot of people won't know the difference. But if you looked at it on a graph, on a chart, math, it can move the resonant peak of the entire guitar, the length of the cable. So, very interesting stuff. I dig it a lot. That was a really cool question. I came across that today and I was like, oh, we gotta give that guy some. We gotta talk about that one. Let's see. What else is going on over there? I've got one more, but
If you'd like to elaborate on the first question you had about that bridge pickup, subsequent question was, why has nobody done that then?
There have been guys that have done it. There's a couple ways to answer that question. Part of the problem with a Telecaster bridge pickup in any other position is that the bridge, the actual bridge in the Tele, has been engineered to hold it up. Okay? Because one of the things we got to remember about old guitars is they weren't bespoke parts, right? They weren't made for a purpose. So a Telecaster bridge pickup, the reason it's the shape it is and the reason it's big on the bottom and all that is because it came out of a lap steel, I think. A lap steel. It might be a pedal steel. Either way, that shape, he let me take it out of here and put it in here, and then had to engineer the bridge around it to work. So if you put it in the neck position of a Strat or the neck position of a Tele, it just doesn't work because you got to grind it all. You got to cut it all up for it to work. That's why it doesn't work. Some people have done that. I've seen it. I've seen a guy with a Strat with Tele pickups and bridge pickups in all three positions. The more common way to get that sound in the neck and middle positions is to have a plate on the bottom of a Strat pickup, a metal plate that you ground, and then it does the same thing as the Tele one, and it in the normal form factor, so you don't have to cut up your guitar. You get that tone in those other positions because you changed the magnetic field like you did on the bridge pickup. I've been thinking about carrying those base plates because it's a really fun experiment to do. But here's what I'll tell you. If you want to experiment with that, just take your pick guard off and get some razor blades, like just regular straight razor blades, or even like out of a utility knife, and just chunk it on the bottom of the magnet of the pickup. So do this. Take your Strat or your Tele and say, I want to get more Tele bridge tone. And then just literally take a razor blade and just chunk it on the bottom, let it stick on the bottom of that pickup and put it all back together, and it'll sound way more like a Tele. And if it's something that you like, let me know. Maybe I will start carrying. I've thought about carrying those plates that go on the bottom because a lot of people really want to try that. But that's a way to do that. The reason you don't see it at the store is because you got to cut the guitar all up. But that's the way around it. Just throw a razor blade on the bottom of your pickup. I got that trick from Jimmy Soldo at Jersey Shore Guitar Garage. He's like, when I was a kid, that was the way I tried it because it was cheap and it was free. And he just stuck them in there. I wouldn't leave it there, though, because the way you put, just so you know this, and if you ever take a Tele bridge pickup apart, put tape on the bottom of the magnets so that there's an insulator between there, because if you ever get chafing of the wire or anything, you don't want your pickup to short out to the rest of the guitar circuit, so you put a piece of tape along the bottom of the magnets before you stick the razor blade to it. Just a little do-it-yourself at home kind of trick to try. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Thank you for asking. I didn't think we would get into throwing razor blades on the bottom of pickups. That sounds super fun. Actually. Let's see. What else we got? I see somebody, I wasn't looking at all the questions, but there's a gap in my screen over here, and I see, is there any more news on getting somebody like John Bollinger on for a show? I've actually reached out to 3 or 4 people that you would find very interesting on that level and such, and everybody, it's like gnarly touring season right now. Like everybody is doing something. They're like, I don't know. Same thing with our live show last week. You know, like I don't know where I'm gonna be. You know, I was trying to get Tim McNally on here from McNally Pickups in Canada, but then his house, he was moving and his closing didn't work right, and then his kid broke his leg, and I mean, you know, so there's been like we've had 3 or 4 guests that I've been talking to that I think you would really find interesting, but it's, I don't know, it's this time of summer. The kids, everybody's just getting out of school, right? Like all the kids are busy. Everybody's on tour. It's just been a weird few weeks. And then we went on vacation, so I didn't want to commit anybody to anything before, you know, I could actually do something about it too. So, well, I'll tell you what. One of the other things I wanted to squeeze in tonight is, and it's only 9:20, but keep hitting us with those questions over here, talking to Leslie, because we probably will have a few minutes to get some new ones in. I thought there was going to be a lot more, but so let me show you. This. Let's see if we can get a little better angle. Oh, bridge pickup.
Again, he said not screwed in.
Yeah, it's not. So this is literally just a kind of a mock-up. The bridge is the neck is bolted on, but here, I'll tell you what. Let's go to this camera. Now I'll show you closer. So what we tried to attempt here, and I think we fairly well pulled it off, is I wanted this to feel and look like barnwood. I wanted it to just feel like a real rough. It's not. It actually feels really good, but so it's not like splintery. But I really just I was thinking barnwood, and then this neck, this fretboard, is absolutely incredible. The figuring in it. Now this is pale ferro, so you probably know, and if you don't, at Dillon Talks Tone, DillonCustomGuitars.com, we do not use rosewood or ebony, and so we use walnut, and we use pale ferro instead of rosewood. But look at that! The figuring in that is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's just beautiful, and then to have that much figuring with this color, and I don't know if you can see this or not on the camera, but I usually build these guitars in alder, and my wood supplier had been trying to sell me a chunk of mahogany for like forever, and so I finally was like, the circumstances were right. I was going on vacation, or actually it wasn't vacation. I was going on some other trip, and he's like, you should try this piece of mahogany. It's really awesome. So I went ahead and went for it, and there it is, and it is beautiful. It's a little heavier than I like. I usually like my guitars to be around 6.5 pounds. I think this guitar, when it's done, is probably going to be in the 8, almost 8 range. So it's a little heavier than normal. But it's going to be pretty cool. P90 in the neck. We're going to do, we've got a flat 6 Telecaster bridge pickup that keeps falling out. That's going here. And then I'm doing a custom wiring harness. So, we should talk about this. So, I'm doing a custom wiring harness in this guitar. It's a 4-way switch, I think. 4 or 5. It might be 5. Anyway, I'm doing something I've never done before. Because, again, I build guitars for myself, and then if somebody buys them, they buy them. That's usually what happens. That's going to happen with this one, because this one is going to be really cool. I'm putting a test circuit in here, and it's going to help us with various things. There's dip switches on the back of it, and I will be able to actually change on the fly. Well, not on the fly. I'll have to unscrew it and hang it out, but we will be able to change from 250 to 500K pots. We will be able to change from series to parallel wiring, I think. And there's a couple other things that we'll be able to change so that on the fly, you'll be able to hear differences. You'll be able to, we're going to be able to change the capacitor in here. So you'll be able to go from a 15 to a 22 to a 33 to a 47 without unsoldering anything. In fact, there are no solders in it. It is solderless. And so I wanted to put a guitar together that I liked. For me, that's how I do these days. We don't just build tons of guitars and have them laying around. I just build a really cool guitar for myself and then find a person that likes it as much as I do. That's basically what we do. But for this one, I wanted to put that circuit in it so that while I have this guitar, because I'll keep that circuit, I'll take it out and put a normal one in it for somebody else. But while I have this guitar, we'll be able to experiment together, and I'll be able to make a couple of videos, and we'll talk about, you'll be able to hear, a good question is, does the 15 capacitor make a difference in the tone over a 47 with the tone knob all the way up when you're not using the tone knob? Yes, it does. We'll be able to talk about that. So that's going to be a really fun thing. I'm hoping to have this guitar done maybe the end of next week, because it's really close. I worked on it a bunch today. I gotta make a nut for it still, and I gotta make a neck pickup. This is just a cover sitting in here so I could show you. So I gotta make a neck pickup. I got the bridge pickup made already. The wiring is already all done, of course. So it's really close. So hopefully next week, I may have it done by next Monday. Knowing me, so how these work is, I was like, I'm really busy. I'm going to put this off. I have some other stuff to do, catching up on orders. And I get so excited about this stuff that I caught up on orders faster than I thought and worked on it all day. So chances are that will happen again, and this thing will be done by the end of the week. So maybe next Monday we'll fire up the Kemper, we'll run it through the board, and we'll be able to switch pots and play around and do stuff. I think it's gonna be fun. So I wanted to show you that because this is really a cool guitar, and it is a Dillon Batfish, but there's a few things about it that are kind of one-off. And if this finish does well, if people like this finish, I was already thinking I'd like to do the same concept in rust. Like make it look like a rusty sign, almost like a rusty washed out something. So kind of that feel, because you could beat it up, you can bang it against stuff, it's not even the really fun thing about this is all oils. There's no clear. So it's when you play it and beat it up, it's gonna wear and be awesome. There's no urethane on it at all. It's just the finish. I mean, it's not gonna come off or anything, but just the way that it's made, the way it's done, it's just completely natural. So it's just really cool. It's a neat guitar. Satin on the back of the neck like I always do. Super fun stuff. So I just wanted to share that and maybe get us excited about possibly having some buttons to push and stuff to play with next week. All right, let's see some other questions. Man, we got a bunch of people who usually listen. This is awesome. Thanks for coming back. Being gone throws everything off, so I appreciate it. BC Rich 581. What is the advantage of using those split guitar pickups you see in some of the Strat type GNLs? If you mean split like split like this and then kind of offset, it's a frequency thing. I think what they do is they move the top one. So let me grab this guitar again. So I think what they do is they move the bottom strings forward and the top strings, so bottom I mean, anyway, the high strings, I think they move them forward, and then the bottom strings, they move them back. Is that right? And what that does is, the idea is, because like we talked about, if the string goes, if the pickup moves this way, it gets sweeter. If the pickup goes this way, it gets twangier. So what they're trying to do is like balance the tone across all 6 strings, because your twangy strings might want to be a little sweeter, so push them up towards the neck some more. So I think that's what those offset things are for. I personally... Oh, and then also I think they have a way to make them hum canceling too. So that's the other thing. That would be a good question for us to ask Tim McNally when he comes on, because he does something very similar to that. And he does all kinds of offset, his Stagger Swagger humbucker and a bunch of other, which is really a single coil, but it's split. I don't do that stuff. That's why I buy that stuff from him. But that's a great question that we should ask him when he comes on the show. And because of that, I will hit him up tomorrow and be like, hey, people are asking. You need to get on the show. So we'll do that. What else do we got here?
Getting feedback from your phone.
Oh, am I?
I am. Something weird.
Oh, okay. Let's see. What else we got here? How does different types of metal of the plate at the bottom of the pickup affect it, and which types of metal are not suitable? On a Telecaster bridge pickup, it has to be a fair... So remember that you have to, in order to change the magnetic field, you have to have a magnetic plate. You can't use, like, obviously carbon fiber won't work, plastic won't work, copper won't work, brass won't work. So when you see gold ones on the bottom of a Telecaster bridge pickup, you flip it over. If you ever notice, mine are always silver. But a normal Telecaster that you buy at the store is gold, like copper. But it's actually steel, and it's copper-plated steel. I've done so many blind tests and so much messing around that I cannot justify spending twice as much for a copper-plated steel base plate, and it makes zero difference in how the pickup sounds. The really sciencey part of it is that there are something called eddy currents that move around and they change stuff, and that's a whole show just on eddy currents. In fact, we have a video. If you Google our YouTube channel, we have 2 videos on eddy currents, and that will talk to you about the differences between copper and brass and nickel and why you use different stuff for pickup covers and stuff. But that science involved in that side of it is why some people like to use a copper-plated steel base plate for a Telecaster bridge pickup. I don't think it sounds any different, and if it does, I've designed around it, so I don't care. I see no point in it whatsoever. And our pickups sound amazing, and they do what they're supposed to do without spending all that money. So we use straight steel ones. I don't know if they did it for a corrosion thing. I don't know. It's one of those things where they came that way a long time ago, so everybody thinks it has to be done that way, which is just 100% isn't true that it has to be done that way just because it's old. But it's common, the copper-plated steel base plate. But you have to use something ferrous, so it has to be steel. Okay? Yeah, that's what I would say. But watch those videos on eddy currents. Very interesting stuff. I actually make a magnet stick to a sheet of aluminum. Remember when I did that? Slid it down, and it was really cool. Blue. I'm not going to lie. I've made like 300 and something videos, and most of the stuff I either already knew, or if I didn't, I actually like called somebody and asked them, or Googled something and learned it and made the video. When I made that video and that magnet stuck to that piece of aluminum, I was literally mind blown. That I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, this is ridiculous. This is not supposed to be happening right now. But the science says that it would happen, and it did. It was very, very interesting. So go watch that video. There's 2 of them, and they're both kind of long, because that was like in the old days where we made longer videos.
In the old days.
In the old days when we made longer videos. I try to keep my videos now to like 6 minutes. That's the goal. Sometimes they get it closer to 10 because we've got, many steps to a process or something. But we try to keep them about 6 minutes. Back in the day, they would get 15, 17 minutes long. They were still very interesting. But not like they are now. They're way more interesting now. Way more. So, well, what's going on the internet? Is anybody having any other questions? And it's okay with me if we end a little early tonight, because I am nervous about this internet situation. But it seems to be hanging in.
Read the question or the other things that came in and see if they're relevant, because they're not really questions, but
okay, let's do that.
They probably make more sense to you.
Okay.
And somebody loves your t-shirt.
Which t-shirt? Oh, my Popeye t-shirt?
Which t-shirt?
I actually haven't worn this one in a long time.
No.
Tell you what. Let's do this. So I can see them. We're going to do this. For those of you that are listening and this is painfully ridiculous for you, I'm actually making it huge on the screen so I can see it. Love my t-shirt. Thanks, man. Is this why Leo Fender put the metal thing that wraps around a Jaguar pickup to increase the magnetic field? That's a great question. Not to increase it, again, but to change it. Okay? It changes the shape. It makes it a different... I wish I could draw it for you right now. Yes, you're on to something with that. It's not more. It's just a different shape, because single coil slug, pole magnets like a Strat have a certain shape, and they're not very big. But if you put that horseshoe thing with the saw teeth on it, it does take the intensity and puts it in a different part of the coil. Okay, so this touches on something. This is a great question. This touches on something that we've not really ever talked about much. It's not just about the strength of the magnet, but it's about where the magnetic field is in the coil. So if the coil is a certain shape, is it stronger in the middle of the coil and weaker toward the edges? Or is it stronger all the way through? Or is it stronger towards the bottom and weaker towards the top? When you put that channel thing with the saw teeth on it around a Jaguar pickup is basically a Strat pickup, but they shave off the sides so it's straight, and then they put that thing on it, and it changes the magnetic field and makes it more intense in different parts of the pickup. That's how it sounds different. So that was a great question, because that's exactly what it does. Let's see. Are they wound differently used in a 6-string or a 12-string? Theoretically, you would want them to be different, but most guitar manufacturers throw it the same pickup and everything. You would be shocked how much stuff gets repurposed and reused, and it's just like cars, Like when the Bugatti Veyron came out, it was $3 million and the door handles were out of a Jetta, you know? So it's the same thing. Like, you know, tuners and pickup parts and stuff, it gets repurposed a lot. And so you would think that they would make something bespoke to a 12 string. And the more you pay for a guitar, the better the chances are that they made a part just for that guitar. But I would say anything under $1,000, it's going to be the same exact pickup. It's going to be the same pickup. Yep. So you're not actually strengthening the field, but altering its shape. That is exactly where we're going with this. That is exactly right. Nah, man. This is fun. It looks like everybody... Whoa, Iggy Tommy, this sounds fun. Sorry, I'm going through these questions because, like I said, we had a few minutes to spend some extra time with y'all tonight because we don't have a ton of content. Literally, this was just supposed to be catching up, you know. But you're going to put, let's see, you're going to put a guitar together with a multi-tone cap value selector switch with 6 tone caps on a rotary switch. That's really cool. That's really cool. I like that a lot. I'd be very interested. Do you guys know about our Facebook group? So Dillon Talks Tone has a Facebook group. You can find it on Facebook. Iggy Tommy, do me a favor. Go get in that Facebook group, and when you get that guitar done, upload a video of that thing, switching through it. I'd love to see that. And I know everybody else here would too. That's really, really cool. It's basically just a Veritone like a Gibson. But to make it yourself is a whole nother deal. And I'm to take the time and, well, you'll see, it's a pain. Those little switch terminals are really, really small. So yeah, do it, man. And go to that Facebook group, Dillon Talks Tone Facebook group, and upload a video. I want to check it out. That's really cool. I love this. I love this. Let's see here. How will you show how you go about making a new nut for that new beast? Yeah, I could do that. I haven't really made nut videos. Yeah. We've made a lot of pop videos, but no nut videos. Yeah, because yeah.
Because we're grown.
Because we're grown. I will tell you, I buy blanks. This one is gonna get, and in fact, I'm glad you reminded me because it would have gotten a bone nut, and I'm gonna stop using bone nuts. Actually, we're gonna start using GravTech nuts. So but I could, I'll make a bone nut and I'll make a video about it, and I'll show you how I do it at home. The reason I've not made one is because when I make this video about making a nut, the rest of the internet is going to be like, you did it wrong. Because I do it different. And I do it my own way because I did not learn from anyone. I actually took a guitar nut out of a guitar when I was younger, and I was like, this is how I should do this. I made my own saddle for my own acoustic. I made my own nuts I was actually an acoustic guitar, and I did it myself. And there was no YouTube, and I just learned, and I just did it a certain way, so there's special tools, and you're not gonna get it straight, and it's gonna bind, and it's not gonna work, and I mean, I get all kinds of people giving me a hard time for my nuts. But they always work. They never bind. Bigsby's work with them. They work correctly. And there's a way I do it, and it's not that complicated. And I didn't have special tools. I mean, now I have special tools, but I didn't have them back then. So that is why I've not publicly made a nut video, because I know that I do it differently enough that the internet will hate me. Let's see. Oh, yeah. That's what she said. Let's see what else we got here. And brass is cool. It wears. It's really hard on tools, and it really wears out quick. But try it. Don't let that discourage you, because brass is really fun. It sounds really cool. It works really good. I actually had a Tele with a brass nut, and it was awesome. Really cool. Oh, Mike Resendiz is on here. I was going to bring his guitar in here too. Yeah, actually, so we're building guitar for Mike Resendiz. He's on tonight, and his guitar is going to get a GraphTech nut too, because he has a Bigsby on his guitar. Yeah, binding nuts is never good. Yep. That's it. Yeah, very cool. Great questions tonight. New ones. I don't feel like I answered the same ones over again. This was awesome. Oh man, this was really awesome. Yeah, I need to get some GraphTech. They're expensive though, man. For what a GraphTech nut costs, I can get bone blanks for like a handful of them for the same money. But I just don't like. I don't want to use bone anymore. I just don't. That's just, it is what it is. I just don't want to. Lots of early 80s Japanese guitars. Yeah, and a lot of them used 0 frets. So they had weird nuts, right? And then they used like a brass 0 fret. And I'm just going to say it. The 2015-2016 brass nut, in fact, they're still doing them on some performance models that Gibson has with that nut, that the bolts that can adjust it up and down. That thing is ingenious. I do not care what anybody says about Gibson. I'm not going to talk bad about Gibson anymore. They're doing whatever they got to do. It doesn't matter. They're going to do whatever they're going to do, and things are going to come back, and they're going to be a new company, and we're going to see what happens. That being said, that brass nut adjustable thing, and then they changed it out for titanium, I think, because the brass was wearing out too quick. But that thing is cool, man. It works, and it's really cool. And the way it works is being adjustable and replaceable. Super cool. There was nothing wrong with that. And I don't know why the world hated it so much, but that was a really cool idea. I know the guy that invented that, and I talked to him about that, actually. And he was like, I really regret showing them that. And I was like, why? It was the coolest thing. That was the coolest thing. That was Frank and those guys. And he's like, yep, I showed him that and those pieces. Well, let's see. Where are those video questions? Oh, yeah. Never used titanium on guitar parts. Dude, you have to try titanium. Titanium is so cool, man. Titanium is so cool. Randy has to run because he has to put a Lambo body kit on. He's hilarious. Right? Yeah, he's funny.
He said he had a lot of things in the fire.
Okay. So Mike Resendiz asks a question. Where are those video questions? So he called me. He's actually a customer of mine. I'm building my guitar right now. He called me and he said, hey, what if, I'm just going to throw this out to YouTube world and let you guys talk about it. And Mike, maybe I'll need to talk to you about how to implement this. That's why you've not seen them, because I don't know. If there's a way that people could submit video questions and then we would be able to see them and hear them, and it would be cooler interaction. All kinds of people on YouTube do it. I just have to figure out how to record it. So maybe that's something that they can do. in the Facebook group, in the Dillon Talks Tone Facebook group. If you have a question you want me to talk about on the show specifically, go submit it over there. And if you want to do it on video, or you have a problem you want to show me, like what's going on with this right here, and you have a guitar and you want to submit it via video, that would be really cool, and then we can play it on the show and talk about it. I just have to figure out the logistics of how to get it over here, but that's a thing that we could do. I think it would be really cool. That's really cool. We talked about that idea, and then I went on vacation and forgot about it. Let's see. Have you made videos describing in more detail the shaping of the magnetic field due to pickup design and how that affects tone? Absolutely. I have made videos on that. They're actually some of the very earliest ones we've ever done, like episode 5. There's a video called, it's literally like go all the way back, like first page of the very first videos we ever made, like 4 years ago. And there's a video that is Telecaster versus Stratocaster pickup. What's the difference? Because they kind of look the same. So why do they sound different? And we actually show diagrams of the magnetic bloom and why they're different and how that affects that. And if you are not satisfied with that, that's been a long time, and let me know if you have a specific question that arises from watching that video, and then let me know, and maybe we'll make some more. But go watch that first, and then if something comes from that, holler at me. Maybe we'll make some more. No, I dig it. Well, all right, man. This has been fun. I really, really appreciate everybody hanging out, and we did not have internet problems, and it's 9:52. Woohoo. We basically made it. We basically made it. We got through all the important stuff. Do me a favor and hang out with us this week. We have so there's a few things going on. Let's talk about real quick. First of all, you guys have seen on some of our videos, and I'm going to plug this hard.